In this week, we're going to move into the computer to the central hub of the post-production process, the DAW, or Digital Audio Workstation. And I use the term post-production. And the term production gets used in a wide variety of ways in music. So let's try to define that a little more. Sometimes production means the entire process, right? I'm producing music. But when talking to actual musicians and mix engineers, very often you can be a little more specific and break it up into three phases: the pre-production process, production, and post-production. The pre-production process would be composing your song, getting your ideas together, planning for the performance. Production is the actual recording of the performance. We might call it the tracking of the performance or recording of it. And the post-production process is everything you do after that. So you go into your DAW and you do your editing, your mixing, and your mastering. We'll start this week with how you configure your DAW for the production and post-production process. There are many choices you have to make when first setting up your project that set you up for success along the way. When recording, we're going to have to configure our DAW to work at the correct sample rate and word length. So that's configuring how we're going to record our digital audio information. And we're also going to have to configure our file management. We're going to find that when dealing with the DAW and music production in general, you're going to generate many files and lots of data. And it's important to know where everything is. If every time you hit record, you're creating a new audio file that's living somewhere on your hard drive. And if you don't know quite where that is, you're going to have a lot of trouble down the road. A music production project is not simply a single file like a Word document. Instead, it's a folder that contains subfolders that contain a ton of different data. So again, you have to be very clear with how you're saving things. Now, as I go through the information in a DAW, we're going to be looking at actually a variety of different DAWs over the course of the course. But the concepts are the same in all of them. They all have the same exact features. It's just a button is moved here or there. So though we're focusing maybe in Logic in this example, you should be able to apply that information easily in another DAW. I'm covering the things that are consistent across them all. After we've recorded our audio in our DAW, we'll move on to editing it. And editing is the rearranging and manipulation of those individual audio files. A really creative time, but it can be kind of tedious to sit there with the mouse and move individual audio files over and over. So we'll focus a little bit on efficiency and just, again, those common DAW features that make editing much easier. From there, we'll look at mixing a little bit this week, but we'll examine that further in future weeks. And then finally this week we'll look at MIDI. And MIDI data is an important type of data we haven't looked at yet in the course. MIDI stands for Musical Instrument Digital Interface. And it's kind of a real-time score, a kind of a way to transmit not so much audio, right? It's not a specific representation of sound, but more of a representation of a musical score. And we have a lot of editing capabilities that works with MIDI in all the DAWs that are out there. So let's look at sampling and digital audio conversion.